Welcome back to the Exploration Lab. Last time we analyzed Thomas More's rhetorical choices in Utopia, looking at how he used language to shape meaning and impact his audience. We saw how he coined the word utopia and used the character Hythloday to create ambiguity, making us question whether utopia was meant to be an ideal society or an impossibly ridiculous idea. And now it's our turn to respond. When we write about an author's rhetorical choices, we need to support our ideas with evidence from the text and give credit to the author who wrote it. But here's the question. If we just put more at the end of a sentence, is that really enough? Well, to help us find out, we're heading out on a field experiment to track down our evidence and get to the source of utopia. That brings us to today's mission. When we support our own claims about utopia with textual evidence, we'll use citations to credit the author and point our readers to the source. Grab your lesson materials. It's time to set sail to the source of utopia. Okay, we're on board and ready to set course for Utopia. At our destination, we'll be writing about More's rhetorical choices and citing his words as evidence. So, we need to find Utopia. And we know Thomas More wrote it. Well, if I were guiding my readers to the source, I'd just put his last name as the in-text citation. So, let's go ahead and enter More into our navigation system. That should point us to Utopia. Huh, that's odd. It's not giving us a location. This could be a problem. This citation tells us the last name of the person who wrote the text, but that's not specific enough to track down the exact text we're looking for. And that's the issue with only using an in-text citation. It points us in the right direction, like a compass, but it doesn't show us how to find the exact source. So the author's last name isn't enough for our navigation system, just like it wouldn't be enough to guide our readers to the exact source we're citing. What other information do you think we need to know in order to get to the text of Utopia? If you wanted to tell someone about a specific book so they could look it up themselves, what details would you give them? Pause the video to list some ideas. What did you come up with? Well, for starters, the title of the actual text would be nice. You might have also thought of things like the publisher or the date it was published. These details are like a map to show us the way, and that's exactly what a works cited page does. If in-text citations are our compass pointing us in the general direction of the text, then the works cited page is our map, guiding us to the exact text we're using. And if we want our evidence to be clear, credible, and correctly connected to the author, we need to use both. So let's input the additional details like title, publisher, and publication date to find our source, Utopia. Now we're ready to write about More's rhetorical choices using our trusty CER structure to make a claim and support it with evidence and reasoning. Let's start with this question. How does More's choice to name the island Utopia, a word that can mean both good place and no place, shape the reader's understanding of his message? We talked about this very thing in our last lesson. To respond, we need to make a claim, support it with evidence from the text, and explain our reasoning. How about this? More's choice to introduce readers to the new island of Utopia creates uncertainty about his message. His formal language conveys that Utopia is a real place, but since readers know the island doesn't exist, they may question how seriously to take his ideas. Pretty solid claim, evidence and reasoning there. Notice that in-text citation? What does it actually do? Well, it tells the reader the last name of the author, which gives a general idea of who wrote the source. But it's also the key connection for finding more details about the source on the works cited page. Check it out. The author's last name is the first word on the works cited entry. That's how in-text citations and works cited work together. So any reader can trace the evidence back to the exact source. What else do you notice about what's included in this citation and how it's formatted? Pause the video to make some notes about your observations. I'm noticing the titles in italics, and the names of the editor and publisher are here, along with the date this particular version was published. All important details that can help us get to the exact source our quote was taken from. As you probably know, there are lots of rules to follow when citing sources. When writing about literature, the rules of the Modern Language Association, otherwise known as MLA, are used to create a common format, so citations are easier to understand and follow by readers across the world. It's like how maps use the same rules, like compass roses, legends, latitude lines going one way and longitude another. Imagine if maps all used totally different symbols and formats. We'd get lost all the time. Having a common style makes it so lots of people can understand how to read and interpret the directions, whether on a map or in an MLA citation. We'll be learning more of the MLA rules and practicing how to use them consistently and purposefully throughout this course. But for now, let's keep thinking about the citations for our response to Utopia. What do you think happens if we bring in some evidence from another source? In our previous lesson, we read an article called Utopia versus Dystopia, a Mirage of Contradiction by Lydia Gray. Let's take our response to Utopia up a notch by supporting our claim with evidence from this. We already established that more is creating uncertainty. Let's add to that. Gray expands on this uncertainty, stating that a utopia may seem perfect to those who shape it, while questioning whether it would feel the same for everyone who must live in it. This reinforces the reader's doubt about More's message, suggesting he may be critiquing utopian ideals rather than endorsing them. Ooh, our claim has even more insight and credibility backing it up. And now we have two different in-text citations. What do you think this means for our works cited page? Well, we have a new entry. What do you notice about the formatting and placement here? Pause the video to make some notes about your observations. Two key things happen here. Our sources are listed in alphabetical order by the author's last name. It's even indented so that those author names on the first line of each entry really stand out, and the first word of each entry matches the in-text citations. That's why we cite this way, so our readers can easily follow our evidence back to its exact source. So, what are our key takeaways? In rhetorical analysis, the author is central. Citing them properly keeps that focus, credits their work, and strengthens your own. In your lesson materials, you'll practice citing your evidence as you respond with your own claims about Utopia. But there's even more. Our analysis of More's Utopia showed us the power of words. I mean, he even invented a word of his own. You think you could do the same thing? Keep exploring your lesson to find out.
Hey, hey.